This is the last but one session of our lecture course, Supply Chain Management, and I'm seeing quite a number of people are there who are not enrolled in the course. Welcome to this particular session. This is a very special session. This is going to be on SOLS, 1 million solar Urja Yojana by the Prime Minister's initiative. And here I have the pleasure of inviting Professor Jayanthan Venkateshwar. He's he's head of the Industrial Engineering and Operations Research Department at the Indian Institute of Technology, Powai, Bombay. And he was also my co-supervisor in my PhD thesis work. And we have known each other for more than some 14-15 years now. And we are very good friends. And this is one of his key flagship initiatives that he has recently completed. JV, not yet completed. It's going to perhaps wrap up in December. JV's background is from BITS Pilani, and he has done his PhD from Arizona. And his expertise is in discrete event simulation and system dynamics. So these are the typical core electives that he teaches in IIT Bombay. And he's one of the coolest professors in IIT Bombay. Welcome to the campus. Welcome to talking to us. Thanks for accepting the invitation.
Good evening all, and thank you SV for the nice introduction. So today I'm going to talk to you all about we talked about the Solar Urja through Localized Sustainability Initiative, but to some extent looking at it through the supply chain lens. As you can see it, the spirit of technology interventions. Right. Typically we read about this or we experience some of it where technology interventions have to be leveraged to improve sanitation, health, various aspects world over. We want to bring more equality and equitable access to people for various improvements in their livelihood as well as their living conditions. So one of the key cornerstones for that is through technology, whatever it may be, right? So various technologies become necessary to leap forward development, right? We don't need to follow the same trajectory of development. People can actually jump from kerosene to LED. Well, they don't need to necessarily go through regular bulbs and CFLs and then come to LED. You can always leapfrog. So that's the advantage of technology as we disseminate. Vis-a-vis, if you actually look at the purpose of a supply chain, then we all know this popular way we define a supply chain is to provide the right product or service at the right time, right place, at the right cost to all the customers. So in today's session, I'm going to share our experience from the Solar Urja to Localization for Sustainable Initiative of IIT Bombay and see how that can help in improving technology interventions. Effective supply chains can actually help in improving technology interventions in experience drawn from one particular intervention of solar energy access. While we talk about energy, it's a good idea to actually get the broad scope of what we are actually looking at. Some of you may be familiar with it, Sustainable Development Goals. Developed 2015, 2016, and 19 different, 17 different Sustainable Development Goals were created, of which goal number 7 is about providing providing affordable and modern and reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. In that, providing affordable energy, because mass manufacturing, etc., can provide reliable, better technologies, sustainable solutions, modern, all can point to technology. In that, in my opinion, the most difficult challenge is the smallest two words, for all. Right? How do you ensure access to all? You can provide access of modern energy to some of them, some reliable or unreliable access. But how do you ensure it's for all? The population of the world is huge, right? 1.1 billion in the world doesn't have access to modern and sustained and reliable energy, of which 20% live in India. Population of about 2.6 crore households. The chart on the right shows how this goal of SDG 7 refers to this modern energy access, links to all other sustainable development goals. So energy is a cornerstone even for eradicating poverty, health, empowerment, peace. Wherever you look at, access to energy forms one of the cornerstone to help provide all the other energy access. So that's what the chart is trying to show. Yeah. So that is to give you a broader context of this entire initiative. How do you ensure that you can provide energy access for all? Right. Now, moving on to see the world's most common way of providing electricity is through the grid connections, which can in turn be powered through either thermal or hydro or any renewable sources. However, and India recently became, last year became 100% of the villages are electrified. Still, a lot of houses are still unelectrified. So there are various schemes in trying to get the households to become electrified. Even though they are electrified, many are not in the tariff paying category when you don't have the meters installed and stuff. So if you look at the recent reports of the citation, this is a report from the Ministry of Power, where India actually incurs a loss of ₹1 per unit generated. As soon as they generate a unit, they are at ₹1 loss. Forget about collection, forget about distribution. As soon as they generate, it's at a loss of ₹1. That is the first statement. I think most of us here are persons of economic man, right? So it's not viable, it's not sustainable if it's going to be a ₹1 loss throughout. So it's unviable to grid connect all households and buildings. And whatever is left is all the most difficult areas. The easy ones is already done, obviously. The last 10% is the most difficult, which is a big challenge. High transmission, distribution losses are high. Reliability, quality of power continues to be an issue. Even in grid areas, we expect generation and consumption to happen together. Whereas people will opt for renewable access also. So that means your infrastructure system must be able to support that. It's not enough if you have a provided grid that will work. No. It has to ensure that people, when they put solar panels, say for example, in their roof, then net metering should work. How many linesmen actually know how it works? Nobody knows. Paying capacity is low, unfortunately, especially in rural hinterlands. That can actually result in de-electrification. Like many of them, the meter has been installed last year. At least this is from one of the discoms in Jharkhand. So they told they are collecting they installed the meter last year, but still the households are still paying the ₹100 or ₹200 per month. However, the meter reading is recorded. They told once every meter is finished, then they will start billing. At that time, imagine a poor household getting a sudden bill of ₹50,000. He's going to disconnect. He will say, if you can collect, then collect. People are not going to allow inside the village. So there is going to be various other issues and only relying on the grid. So one of the possible sources could be this off-grid solar or addition of solar as a supplement to the grid. We are not replacing it. And off-grid solar solutions are necessary. You cannot just only rely on grid. You are going to require off-grid, whether it is you are going to require renewables, and whether it is to connect it to the grid and pump it to the network, the electricity generated, or consumed locally. That doesn't matter. If it's consumed locally, we call it off the grid. If we can generate and also supply to the grid, then it is called on grid. So the distinction is subtle, but most of the cases we can actually support by just doing off-grid solar solutions. So there is a real need for having the solar solutions. That is, a lot of people have actually shown why it is useful, and a lot of pushes for the government side on this. However, the dissemination needs to change. Currently, most of the solar solutions are disseminated to large-scale tendering, which only reduces the initial cost. While we are getting a lot of issues where the power companies are refusing to honor the contracts of the large power plants that has been installed. And rooftop solar, though government tries to push, it doesn't pick up too much because of local level resistance and general passiveness towards adopting better technologies. Local services are not available, friendly, low awareness among the users. Scale and speed is required to provide access for all. Remember, if it is we are setting up a slow business to 150 years, 60 years, it is one way. But if you are also going to add on it saying that you have to provide access for all by 2030, There are all the reports about sea level rising and we need to achieve this. So when you combine both, then that's be done at a much faster pace, which off-grid can, or at least solar can help towards that. So the bigger question is to worry about is whether can solar home systems treated, etc., be treated as a commodity rather than a service. Actually, the other way, and they be treated as a service rather than a commodity. Say that it will be treated as a commodity, but can it move as a service? Also, when we started, you were faced with this question. We started this solar program 2014. So at that time, actually, many solar like projects programs still existed, but then what were the issues that we found? We found that the solar products actually needed the remote rural locations at a low cost. It needs to be available locally for purchase. A lot of cases, the project was done as a philanthropic mode where fixed number of products are available locally, so people just take it. After that, there is no way to produce or buy even one more product. The design were not necessarily robust. Insufficient access to timely low-cost service, repair, replacements. Many of you may be from rural areas or at least visited many rural areas. There is a lot of evidence of solar programs in that area. Most of the evidence is in the form of non-working solar products. How many of you might have seen a non-working solar street light because battery chori ho gaya, or light is missing, panel is gone, or wire is missing. So, and solar gets a blame. Solar is just only the panel. That is the only thing that is generating the electricity. But no fault of the solar panel, the battery gets stolen, LED gets stolen, or sometimes they just install the street light in their own backyard that so public is not used. So, all those things we can continue to see. And, yeah. So, when you see these issues not only about just about the technology, not only about the finance. There are various schemes like pay-go model, where you just pay as you go model using SMS, or it is not just about getting the best technology, the right technology. It's about sustainability of the solutions that we are interested in. This is where we started around 2014, and we started with the future. That is the students that we are going to invest our future in. Why did we choose the students? India is a really young country. We have 1 billion population, of which 1/4 of them are below the age of 20. They are all school students who are going to be the future of our country. I am 40 plus. So if I have to wait for another 5 years for electricity access, I can still wait. But imagine a school student studying in 5th class. If he has to wait for 5 years for reliable electricity access, he should be in 10th class. Probably he dropped out in 8th. Once you drop out in 8th, your 8th class dropout forever. The rest of your life. Right? So it's really critical. They are the most vulnerable group we need to provide energy access to. And as far as the 2011 census or even the recent studies, a lot of students still continue to depend on kerosene as their primary source of study. Whenever they say electrified household, they just need a single bulb connection, and that is considered as electrified household. But then when a student has to study, they usually rely on a chimney lamp or a kerosene-based lamp, which is what they used to study. Right? So, if we can send mission to Mars and technology is out there. Technology is not the problem. LED lamps work, solar panels work, systems are robust. But can we actually provide better access, or at least try and replace some of the kerosene products using reliable solar products in the quickest possible manner? It is not enough. The proof of concept exists. 1,000, 10,000 students. Can we do 225 million students in a matter of 3 months? Like how many years will it take? If we say we are going to take 10 years to do 225 million, then we are already out. We have lost the game. Whatever solution in India you have to propose, the growth rate of solution should be greater than our population growth rate. So that's one thing we are really good at, population growth rate. So our solution growth rate has to be greater than that. Anything lower, it's just not going to cut it. It is just going to push the problem elsewhere. Right? So that was the interesting thing that we actually started with, to understand that, okay, why are all these problems failing? Can we actually try to do something? Is it scaling up so difficult? What are the challenges we'll encounter with the scaling? And is there a template that can evolve? This is the questions that we faced with when we started this initiative in 2014. From the technology side, we started with this question of how much light we actually need for study purposes. Actually, what we need is only 150 to 200 lux of electricity. Right now, the lighting here will be near about 2000 lux, just to give you a relation. But 200 lux is sufficient for study. That is what the studies show. And on the right side, the chart shows what is average light intensity on the floor. Typically, people sit in the floor and they study, especially in rural areas. So the average light intensity in any household is actually very, very close. It's close to some 10 lux, and the required is about 200 lux. It's far lower. So if I want to provide it as an electricity, how much units of electricity do you think would be required? 1 unit is 1 kilowatt hour. So I'm from IIT, so I will put all these kilowatt hours. So to just give perspective, roughly our fridge, when it full day, it roughly consumes 1 unit a day. So how much do you think units is required, say, for us children to study 1 year? How many units? Just get some number. Any number is fine. You can actually work it out. Suppose assume every student studies 4 hours a day. It never happens 4 hours a day, only before exam that happens. But assume it they study for 4 hours every day, for 365 days. So you get number of hours. Multiply that by 1 watt is what typically power required to do 200 lux of light using LED. If you want to provide the same lux using bulb, you will have higher wattage. But LED, say 1 watt LED, consumes 1 watt. That's why it's called 1 watt LED. So if you multiply that, 4 hours, 365 days, and pretty much you just end up with 0.7 unit of electricity in a year to study. It is very, very less. Why can't we guarantee 1 watt of electricity, 1 unit of electricity for every child in the country? Right? How quick can we do that? So that's the technology aspect. So technology is not the issue, financing is not the issue, people have good paying power, if it is affordable and reliable. So then the issue comes to how do we provide, using a good supply chain design, these solutions. That brought us to the Solar Ujjat localization for sustainability initiative. So our initial scope of this particular project is to provide high quality, affordable, clean light to millions of school students in rural India in the fastest possible way. It is to provide 1 solar lamp every student, generate sustainable employment in rural areas, generate local capabilities, seed the rural market for accessibility and availability of solar products, and also try and do it in the fastest possible way during a time of short duration of 1 year. So, if you look at the objectives, it's just not the first one, that is providing a lamp to student, then you can actually manufacture it and just ship it directly to various schools in the country and tell them people to just take it or give it to these students. Right? But we also want to see whether through this initiative can we actually generate local capabilities to maintain the lamp, sell the lamp, and provide future access to various solar products within the community, so that some amount of transition towards sustainability occurs after this initiative gets started in that region. Now, even with the first objective, just to provide 1 lamp to every student, as I told you, target is 200 million students. So, it involves many aspects of supply chain. Please look at it. It involves product design, vendor development, network design, setup of such assembly and distribution centers, where are we going to produce it, sales, where is the planning and scheduling, quality, after sales. Right? So we still need to address and overcome this issue of scale through various aspects, which is all aspects of big supply chain. Once that goal is clear, once the objectives are clear, the target audience, customers are clear, then we are pretty much trying to run a supply chain in a project mode. You have to start it and sustain it in a project, which is quite challenging. So in this essence of souls, one of the key term, or key aspect, or key approach is this concept of localization. Right? So localization involves local communities to generate and fulfill their own energy needs. That is the aspect of localization we want to operate on. Why? We feel through localization we can achieve lower operational costs, quicker, lower maintenance, and it will also inspire confidence in the technology among the community. There are 4 aspects to this localization. One is first is the ease of adoption, which comes through better technology design, local capacity building leading to livelihood generation, local institution enterprising, which involves enterprise building, institution building, and tying all this together is the last mile supply network that has to be created, which creates confidence in the solution. I will explain each one of it in detail. What do I mean by technology? So one of the what can I say, challenges is to actually design a good robust product, but the product is actually quite a cheap product. It's only a 500 rupee product, but the design cost is going to be prohibitive. It may prevent a lot of people from not adopting that particular solution. So through IIT we have tried and tested and designed products and released them through open source so that local entrepreneurs and whoever wants it can actually download it. It's all available in open hardware and So right now we have designed 5 products, of which is the solar lamp which I was talking about. 10 plus variants are possible. There's something called Tier 0, 1 and 2 products, especially energy access. Tier 0 products are these kind of solar lamps. Tier 1 product is home lighting system. Slightly bigger lamps and lanterns. A Tier 2 system becomes home lighting system with many bulbs and requires a small inverter can come in. So all these are actually possible to manufacture. They are not very difficult technologies. Many of them can actually come out through BTech level projects, and designs are really good. Manufacturing PCBs is actually pretty straightforward. We can put few microcontrollers here so that we can work on that. That is also now plentifully available. So there's no reason why the design has to be difficult. You can actually bring in a really robust design at a low cost, and putting it in open source ensures that such basic necessity products are available at low cost to all the people. Below here you see is a picture of the what we call as a standard or simple control box, which can then interface with panel, batteries, as well as your globes like bulbs and fans and stuff like that. So this is like the heart of the entire control. I can explain about it later. Second part we did was we wanted to empower the local community so that they take ownership on initiative. One of the challenges we early on faced is whenever the thing is given for free, people don't appreciate it. Or if the project is finished, we want to figure out how to continue or sustain the initiative in the area. So whichever way you look at it, the crux being local capacity building. So we created an on-site training as well as handholding in 4 stages spread over about 21 days of training and 62 days of handholding where regular feedback is given to the local community. You can make and sell the products. Quality and continuous improvement aspects are also stressed. And it was done in the local language, and we even created some books for it. So all the people we end up training who's working on providing the solar lamp access to rural school students would also then move on and try to become entrepreneurs so that they can try to meet the local energy needs through them being the hubs. So that is the overall concept. The fourth aspect of this last mile supply chain that we want to enable. See, once you have a single product, setting up a supply chain, then the focus is only supply chain because there is only a single product. Once that stream is established, the idea is, can I now transition to multiple products because the channel is now clear, I have more options, my institutions becomes more stronger. if I bring in more products within the company. That is the idea of this last mile supply network. Some explanation. So, how did we actually do this localization process? So, our unit of intervention for each of these initiatives is one block. So, state is divided into districts, districts is divided into sub-district or blocks in India. So, our unit of intervention is a block. So, once a project, once a block is selected, then all the school children in the block are eligible to buy this solar lamp. So, what we do is when we talk to the community within the block, then some people from the block are selected and provided capacity building. And this region can have electrified as well as unelectrified households. About 150 villages are there on average in a block in India. UP Bihar is highly dense, like locations like Vidarbha, Jharkhand, quite sparse. And this is just on average. So this local capacity is provided to the community, and then the solar lamps as a kit form is provided to them, who then make and sell the lamps and sell it to the students through the schools at a price of 100 rupees. And the money that is collected is again reinvested within the community only. It doesn't come out. So the 100 rupees used for meeting their own needs as well as used for future sustainable activities. Many of them choose to invest their money to become local entrepreneurs, where connecting it through a last mile supply chain network or the global supply chain can actually lead to more sustained access for the commodity within the same community. So this is the overall localization process that we started with. So this is just to give an overview of the aspects within our project. Now that some vague idea we are given and what we want to do, some of the strategic questions is what we started with. First one is affordability. What should be the price of the lamp? Which region in India to concentrate on? There are 220 million, yes, it is great everywhere, but still we have to start somewhere. Where do we start? Always funding is an issue. How to source the lamp components? How do you assure quality of the product? These are two questions that is going to keep coming up. How when we have to set up these local assembly distribution centers? Theory and the conceptual looks fine. Yeah, you can go there, you can get some people. Why will they even come? Why should they even trust it? Why should they even come? And set up some center. And if you give the material to them, what if they just leave? Why should they even make it and be part of this initiative? How long will it even take? How long center will operational? How long will it take to train people? How many people are required to train? And how do you reach this? So many students. Rural households are very spread out, very limited connectivity between them. So these are the strategic questions that we were faced with. But if you think about it systematically, its answers are pretty straightforward. Some of them told. So focus on rural household, and the idea was to ensure that every student gets access to clean light. So you can't pitch it at a too high a cost. So the price was set at rupees 100 per lamp based on the daily wage under NREGA. We took the less than average cost. It's not the same across all the states. Implementation has various other issues. But we decided to fix it at say 100 rupees per lamp so that everybody can actually afford it. Then block and sub-district were chosen as an operation, as unit of operation, and so all the students in that particular block or sub-district are covered and they're going to get access to the solar product. Rural and tribal populated blocks were chosen, and all the blocks with high percentage of households who are dependent on kerosene as their primary source of light. There are huge number of blocks and districts covered under that criteria from 2011 census. If you want to give us sample, in the state of Bihar, I think just one or two blocks. Other than that, every other block, the percentage of household dependent on kerosene satisfies our criteria of more than 50%. Every block. UP about 98% of the blocks clear, right? Again, 98% of all the blocks satisfy that. Then for the kids, we decided to empanel all the vendors. Design has been released in open source, put it up and invite tenders and as many vendors as possible. We can just empanel so the rates are fixed and they have to supply lamp in kit form. Then we partnered with rural livelihood missions in the various states and NGOs. They are already grassroots entities which has the reach. IIT Bombay doesn't have so much reach. Right? So how do we ensure that it's not missing its mission? Partnered with rural livelihood missions. So these, some of you might have heard of it, others. So rural livelihood mission has been created through India. United Nations mandate about 20 years ago now, and it's there in every state. I think, yeah. So I think started in Bihar, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh also. But now it is there in every state. So what they actually do is, from every village, they form small women self-help groups. To 10 to 15 women form small self-help groups, and almost every woman, especially in the marginalized community, become part of at least one self-help group. And multiple self-help groups come together and form what is called as a village or organization, then a cluster level federation, and a block level committee, and so on. So through that network, mainly it is designed as a microfinance network. And we have been, and now that has been established for the last 15-20 years, people from that are also being recruited and provide additional skill-based training, such as tailoring and other immediately accessible jobs. Information is disseminated through that. Some self-help groups, I think, they are also partnering with CCD, Cafe Coffee Day, for training women from that, so that they can go and place in the cities to get jobs with CCDs. So there are various ways in which they are trying to link up the women through this, through employment and livelihood activities. And they are also pretty active in the microfinance sector. And some of these cluster federations are quite actively. Their yearly turnover is about 70-80 lakh rupees. Is their yearly turnover. So it's quite a bit of money. Many of them have corpus of 2-3 crore rupees. And they are looking for some ideas like how do I invest it effectively to improve all our livelihood. Some of the self-help groups are actually running the ration shops, especially in Bihar. They run the ration shops, they keep checks on the schools and stuff like that. So they already have a good reach, so we decided to partner with them. And we also decided to distribution through the schools to ensure enrollment, and it provides a focal point for customers, because customers are school students. So this way we can ensure that they are really school students, which is a tough job. So this led to many funding agencies. Part of it, mostly are supported the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy and also the other funding agencies like say Idea Cellular, CSR, and various state rural livelihood missions and NGOs were the intermediate partners. Various vendors are established and through ESM also during the overall coordination of it and various research collaborations we try to carry on. So since 2014, we have provided 6.5 million households, 65 lakh students, assuming per household, covering 10 states in India, about 370 blocks. Almost all the states, more densely in UP, Bihar, and Jharkhand and Assam, but some activity given in here in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan. About 9,000 plus locals have been trained, to 240 assembly centers are running, 1,600 plus repair centers. These are all happening through the financial support to the project of the rupees. But we are also moving towards this local solar markets, which is without external financial support. So this demonstrated the model is indeed replicable and scalable. If you see the model, just one community to recruit people. Now why can't I do it in parallel in so many different locations? So how many different locations can we do? We can actually do it at 250 different locations in parallel. We can even do more constrained by funding right now. So this was a progress of the cumulative distributions. Some of the tips is because unfortunately we chose the schools as a distribution point. That means you have to respect the school calendar. Not during exams or holidays you can't distribute the labs. So it will go down. Especially you can see May and June and it's low and then again slowly starts. Keeps growing. This point is good. I will the video.
पहले जैसे खेल तो नाम मात्र है तो बच्चे कैसे पढ़ते हैं?
वो चिराग लगा के पढ़ते थे, चिराग मट्टी के तेल का।
बच्चों के लिए पढ़ाई बहुत जरूरी है। अगर पढ़ाई नहीं होगी तो कुछ भी नहीं होगा। तो पढ़ाई के लिए हमारे घरों में लाइट नहीं है और बच्चों को लिए पर दिक्कत है। दीपक जला के रखो, धुआं जाता है, उससे नुकसान होता है। पढ़ाई भी नहीं करते, कहते उजेला नहीं है, दिखता नहीं है, सारी बातें बताते, वो पढ़ने का मन ही नहीं करते हैं।
कई बार ये लोग पूछते हैं कि आईआईटी बॉम्बे ये सोलर लाइट प्रोजेक्ट क्यों कर रहा है। तो जो उसकी बेसिक जरूरत यदि हम देखें बच्चे को पढ़ने के लिए तो बहुत ज्यादा नहीं है और ये बच्चे का अधिकार है कि उसको लाइट मिले ताकि वो अच्छे से पढ़ सके। तो कई बार मैं सोचता था कि जब टेक्नोलॉजी इतनी एडवांस हो गई है, जब हम मार्स पे मिशन भेज रहे हैं, जब हम एडवांस कंप्यूटिंग की बात करते हैं, 4G नेटवर्क की बात करते हैं, तो क्या एक बच्चे के लिए, एक पढ़ने वाले बच्चे के लिए एक हम सोलर की बिजली नहीं दे सकते या उसको बिजली की व्यवस्था नहीं कर सकते ताकि वो अपनी कम से कम 4 घंटे की पढ़ाई कर सके। और उसके लिए जो सॉल्यूशन निकाला कि कैसे हम गांव के लोगों को इसमें इन्वॉल्व करें और उन्हीं लोगों को पूरी ट्रेनिंग दें, असेंबली की, रिपेयर की, मेंटेनेंस की, ताकि वो जो भी उसका सॉल्यूशन है, जो प्रॉब्लम्स है, उसको हल कर सकें।
तो ये बच्चे जो लाइट मिली आपको स्कूल में मिली, कहाँ मिली? स्कूल में। कितने रुपए की मिली?
उसके बाद तो हम फिर अपने मतलब स्कूल में पहली बार गए तो लग रहा हम कैसे बात करेंगे। पहली बार भगभगी की तरह लग रहा था, उसके बाद अब नहीं लगता है।
जिनके पास नहीं है लैंप, मैं उन्हें भी लेके पढ़ाई करूंगी और मैं चाहती हूँ सब पढ़े, कोई अनपढ़ ना रहे। अब अगर अपनी जिंदगी को बदलना है तो पढ़ना है, आगे बढ़ना है।
सौर ऊर्जा हमारे साथ है तो हम सबके साथ हैं, सारी दुनिया के साथ सबसे लड़ सकते हैं, हम कहीं भी जा सकते हैं, कुछ भी कर सकते हैं।
इसका सॉल्यूशन हमारे पास है, इसकी टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे पास है और इसको जल्दी से जल्दी हर बच्चे तक उसके एक अधिकार के रूप में, जैसे कि हमने शिक्षा का अधिकार दिया है, वैसे एक प्रकाश के अधिकार के रूप में हर बच्चे तक ये सोलर का लैंप पहुंचाना चाहिए।
So, yeah. So, we actually started with it. The person you saw was Chetan Solanki, he's also from IIT Bombay. He's a very passionate guy. So, before he started, even 2008 and 2010, 2012, he did various pilots along with various agencies in various locations. Pilots meaning one community, 1,000 and then 10,000 or 5,000, those kind of pilots. Then we were actually discussing over tea, and then he was saying, we should do it for all the kids, and we should try a pilot of 1 million at scale. Then I was like, wait, when you do pilot at one location, it is like more a project where you're just trying to study the impact, and then at one shot you can move the material and stuff. But once you talk about 1 million, you have to do it many times at many locations, right? And I'm an operations guy, I'm a supply chain management guy. So I was like, hold on, Chetan, probably we should start discussing things. We have to put things down, put it in structured way. And then we actually, the focus was actually to see what is affecting and or preventing us taking up scale. If all the funding is available, then is scale possible? If government can actually give all the funding, can we actually achieve and fulfill this goal? Not necessary. Because the amount of funding needed, like I think the kerosene subsidy per annum is 30,000 crores. If you have to reach this lamp for every kid, even if you keep it at 500, you may not need that much, just say 5,000 or 8,000 crores, you can reach every kid. Suppose government gives you 8,000 crores. So guys, let's say okay, but implement it within the next 1 year. So the solution, even a solution, you have to repeat it every 3 years. Still for 3 years the investment is only 6,000 crores compared to 30,000 per annum. But still can actually do it? That is a difficult question. Given that 1 year time can actually set up this entire supply chain, get it running, get the training. So that was the learning that we wanted to show. So first from until 2014 to 2016, mid-14 to mid-15, and then we showed and how 1 billion can actually be achieved, and created many of these templates through that learning. And then we presented that report to the ministry, who then looked at that report and then recommended that okay, maybe this project can be scaled to additional 70 lakh school students. So that is about currently running another 7 billion. And since IIT had been involved in initial phases, they know you can continue to coordinate. You are now partner with the state agencies and state procurement partners, so that you can actually show them how it can be done and how the things can be connected. Because not one agency just can't do it. So that's why IIT Bombay. So that phase is coming to end right now. So result is about 675 million INR was generated and circulated in the local economy. Increased confidence and skills in solar among users as well as these local entrepreneurs, that is the people whom we train. There has been reported savings in kerosene and interesting stacking behavior is observed. So what do you mean by stacking behavior is, we are not saying that solar lamps will actually replace their existing sources of energy. The need for energy is so much that this is also going to add to their energy consumption, but in a more positive manner, so that the immediate right to light is fulfilled. At the end of the project, a lot of women actually invested and started and set up their solar shops with an average savings of 70,000 rupees. It's a big deal. One of the most difficult things is how do you ensure that sustainability solutions happen. If you want to start a business, you have to put the capital, right? So here are women who are actually willing to invest their own money and start a shop, and this is all self-investment, meaning they are not taking any loan or anything yet. So that itself is about 17,000 for each of the solar marts that the women have started. Till now about 450 solar marts have been established all across the country. So how it works is, just to repeat, what we did is we provide training to people, help set up a local assembly center, much like this hall, just a flat piece of room, where lamps are provided. So as soon as they got the skill, technical skill of how to do soldering, how to sell, how to talk to people, most of the people were engaged with the rural women. So they actually showed based on the skills, it's very easy to assemble, right? Because you have to just sit there and over time, over a week or maybe over 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you can really up the skills and then ensure labs to assemble. But at the same time, go to schools, talk to teachers, talk to people, allow them to canvas there and sell the products to school kids who, I don't know, many of you may not have kids at home, but if you have kids, like if you ask my daughter what happened in school today, she will say, I don't know, and nothing. But now you're trying to tell the kids that you're going to sell a lamp and get money from the parents, and that's a very difficult challenge. They have to remember how do you campaign in the village in the night, how do you advertise in the community, how do you prevent theft and leakages and corruption. So all those things they have to solve within the local. But since community was involved, so some of the things, everybody is now responsible for their children kind of concept. So once they can see that the skill that they are learning is giving livelihood and it's building their confidence. So later, some of them are willing to use the money and start up a solar shop, because within that community they become very popular. So everybody knows why solar दीदी आ रहा है, उनके पास लैंप देंगे तो काम हो जाएगा, लैंप ठीक करके देंगे. She will fix the lamp, she will give it to me, she will make it work. Some of them have stood in the local sarpanch election, won the election, because she knows every household. She goes to the village, everybody knows her, right? So fantastic empowerment that is happening. So those are the movements. Then they come out. So this assembly of the lamps, etc., happens for about 6 months, and the lamp actually forms a nice base which covers every household within the community. Now, imagine the full reach that you, as an entrepreneur, has got connection. Every single household, about 3,000, 4,000 households in that area knows you, knows your product. That initial reach is already given. Now, on that platform can actually build a business model. It should work. Right? Eventually, it has to transform from project mode to a business mode. Only then it's going to sustain. But given that the reach is getting created by this project, how can they leverage it? The first sign of that is they are going to invest their own money. They have to move towards a business mode. They have to move to an economic model which will be sustainable. So they are going to invest. They can start a shop, and through the shop, the repair services are provided. Additional year of support is being given for them to actually nurture it, which is also built in as part of the project. That's why the project scope is not just to provide the lamp, but also to build the local capacity for local people who will then do the lamp. We never directly deal with schools. But if the people are trained, they are given the skills. Now it is your community, your kids, you ensure full access is given to them. So that is what distinguishes most of the intervention that is happening off-grid with what we are proposing as a solutions. And the solar months are actually enabled transition. This has just started. We're just starting to see some of it in the last 3 months of user households to tier 2 systems. Many of them want to buy the lantern home systems, and they try to approach this local GD and buy the products. Many of them are willing to pay upfront. Many are small businesses like a small poultry, small shops where they want light and fan and CCTV coverages. You'll be surprised that in rural areas they want CCTV coverage. They are very afraid of them, of their chickens and this thing, but they are willing to put some panel and with CCTV coverage, they're quite happy with it. At the same time, we are not only pushing our own open source hardware products, we are opening them up to any business. We conduct big workshops where all vendors are invited, so anybody can now interface with this last mile network. One of the biggest challenges faced by big industries is, how do we reach my market? I have a factory in Hyderabad, but the market is in rural Jharkhand. How do we go to Kunti and Gubla? Anybody from Jharkhand? So how do we go to Kunti and Gubla from Hyderabad? Nobody even knows where to point it. Before this project, I also had no idea. You may just ask me those locations, but now I know. Right? So we bring them together, connect them, and whichever works. If open source hardware can be produced more cheaply by someone and provided, great. If not, if their own products are cheaper and robust and customer wants it, great. Finally, we want them reliable energy access, and we want to create that ecosystem in the local which can actually connect your customers with the global network. So that is eventually where the project is heading towards. Which time I have. So various interesting OR, OM, SCM teams emerged through this project, like which blocks to select. In fact, the funding was given only for 70 lakh children, and we have 200 million children. So how do we go from, how do we select them? can't distinguish between the different skills, process standardization, capacity building, continuous improvement. So one is to just to teach them and leave it, but we have to imbibe them in the idea sense of this continuous improvement, so they can keep on improving by addressing the local problems and issues that may arise. Otherwise, each and everything, one village where some sarpanch is not allowing them to enter, one phone call will come to Mumbai. What the hell will we do sitting in Mumbai? How can I talk to some sarpanch in Mumbai? They won't care. They won't know what ITI is more popular. IIT is not popular there. Everybody knows ITI only. So I just say I'm from ITI. They say, they have more trust. So great, whatever works. So how do we impact them? That's a very challenging question we are facing. Distribution planning and uncertainty. Everything is uncertain. From small rain to local festivals to band to anything goes. So last mile distribution continues to be a challenge, especially money collection. They're really afraid. You go to school, you sold 100 kids, then you have 1,000. 1,000 is a huge money. They feel that they were not able to carry back home because they have to come across through a small forest path of 2 kilometers. So that becomes an issue. Reverse logistics, quality control, new product diffusion. So whatever you study and whatever you learn, it has some relevance here. We don't have time to go through that. Some partial list of interesting questions that we started to focus on. Some of which we just designed it and allowed it to run. So 2 questions are we are trying to figure out how can I actually operationalize this localization concept. How well can it be, and how can it lead to entrepreneurship development? So those 2 maybe I'll just quickly 5 minutes each. I'll just talk about what we think we did. So in operational localization, we just went with a kind of straightforward design where let us think and design nice proper process flow charts as well as an operational design of it. But even to do that, we had to open a few centers, let it run, observe it for 3 months, and then got the feedback way back in 2014, and then used it, and then started the remaining centers after 3 months. Then we started implementation, and then we even evaluated that and to see how we can improve. Process design framework includes the very standard ones, even if you're able to sit and think patiently, will think of it. There is 2 key parts: assembly and distribution of the product. And then you have to assemble production planning and setup, capacity analysis, resource planning, facility planning, quality control, and distribution. You worry about what is the process flow for distribution, marketing channels, resource planning, distribution planning. On top of this, our initial training coming from IIT, first training was just how to build a lamp. Everybody was taught and done. And then suddenly an inventory of 5,000 kits was given. Utter chaos. One is to make one lamp, other is to maintain an inventory of 5,000. So initially there were hilarious stories of, they jadu karke sab PCB ko fake diya. So they couldn't distinguish between which is screws as well as which is parts. So it was just crazy. So we have to teach them operations management also, so they can actually manage inventory and stuff like that. And remember all our 8th class parts and stuff. So like this complicated charts we did, this is mainly for our own understanding, but then we dumped it down in Hindi and made it more simplified with, I don't have the visuals, but made it a nice fun looking chart which then they can easily absorb. We did detailed production planning of each task and try to come up with what kind of working hours we should do, and estimated what is the learning curves and things like that, and how many days will be required to finish in each location, how to do it in parallel. We had a lot of these matrix and they skip it. And initially itself to provide the sales and marketing, this is 3 blocks in Jharkhand, Khunti district. So the assembly centers are located at one location, and within each block actually villages are divided by clusters or gram panchayats, if you may. So we insisted that people has to come from various gram panchayats. Otherwise what happens is people close by just make the lamp, then selling becomes very difficult. Because the person here will actually find it difficult to figure out what are these schools in these locations. So we insisted that people has to come from various locations, at least 2 to 3 each. So they traveled and then they worked and then they went back to sell the product, so it can ensure effective coverage. And later they can actually go back and have an opportunity to set up a solar shops. Implementation, I told you, we partnered with state rural livelihood missions and local AD centers that set up, and then we gave some nice plan. Initially we had to go with some plan. And we did all these activities, capacity building, hand holding, training of trainers, monitoring and continuous improvement. Another view of operations is we set up the suppliers, and then once dispatch schedule is given, the material is directly sent to the vendor locations, however remote it may be. And whatever kits are done, it's 100% inspected. Any defects are informed and they have to replace it. Payment for that directly goes to the ministry, and each zone refers to each state. And once the lamps are assembled in the assembly centers, they're sold to schools to school students. The students use a lamp, and later when it becomes defective, they can repair it through the solar lamp repair centers. The free service under warranty is provided. And then that's another biggest challenge, right? Like lamps has this particular product has a 5-year warranty for some component 2-year warranty. So during the warranty it has to be claimed. It's very easy for people to say, warranty will be honored. If you send it to Hyderabad, you will claim it. I'll get Hyderabad. They have not visited Ranchi from 20. Where the hell are you going to go to Hyderabad? So how do we? So that is why this repair centers become critical. Many of the things are like that. If you go there, they will say, "Oh, the street lamp is not working." Then some agency will look at it and say, "Actually, it's under warranty." And then vendor will say that information was not given to me. If you can send it to me, I'll repair it and send it back. But there is no agency set up to do it. Most of the program lacks there. Because all the products under warranty are through the suppliers are replaced. And additional entrepreneurship training is given, so that hope that at least one of them will succeed in becoming entrepreneurship. The ratio is still the same. It's very, very difficult to survive for less than 10% chance. So we hope at least 1 in 10 will succeed. Then once implemented, various statistics was collected about the performance. Let me not go into that. This kind of reiterated our learning curve effect. So this was very interesting. We got really continuous improvement actually happened, in the sense of we really encouraged them. We put a center in charge. We suggested that they have to meet initially every end of every day to discuss the quality and other issues. Then by and by they started opening up and trying to solve various issues that they faced. And as soon as one group, actually many of these good practices itself came from the field. One location will discover that there are a lot of absenteeism, then they started encouraging job rotations with people around. Then we communicated that to the other groups, and so that is how we encourage this various continuous improvement effects using standard approach of plan, do, check, act as a simple concept using various visuals and stuff. Then we wanted to actually understand how does the centers did perform. We set it up, we provided all the training, we gave it, and eventually everybody got some lamp. But did they really perform well? What affected their assembly performance? What affected the distribution performance? And we did a lot of data analysis using various methods. And when we started with, these are some of the questions posed to us by various people, including the Assistant Rural Ministry, our own colleagues in the Social Science Department, saying that based on the age, education, the target, about how they handle it, a lot of scraps will be there, a lot of holidays are there. UP में है बहुत मुश्किल है, झारखंड में कर सकते हैं, महाराष्ट्र में कर सकते हैं, UP में ट्रक गायब हो जाएगा. So all sorts of things we used to get. So we want to figure out, what are the things which actually affected. Let us look at the data and analyze it. Now we have huge amount of data, and some were motivated, not motivated and stuff. Similarly, distribution, a lot of things are targeted. One of our schools covered. They had some shortage index, like sometimes you need to slowly only build inventory, but it gets sold in one day. So what we actually, based on analysis, found out that actually there is no dominant factor which includes assembly process or even distribution process. Meaning, anybody can assemble a solar lamp, whether they are UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Orissa, Assam, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, any rural place, one start they can make it. They can ensure quality. The defect rates are very similar. Performance improvement. Some may get there within 2 weeks, some others get there by 4 weeks. Within that range, everybody gets there. There is nobody who can do it properly. Some regional variations are observed, but not statistically significant. But distribution of the average visits per school was the only dominant factor. Like some places visited school more often. Like some locations had only small, less number of schools with large enrollment, so the distribution was much easier for them. In other places they had many small schools spread out, like Jharkhand or Gadchiroli, there are very small schools spread out as compared to UP Bihar. Many schools are there, but very very close by with so they could visit the same school again and again. So word of mouth effect took over, so that came as a dominant factor. But our original planning was distributed schools, so it was very good the time that they were viewing. And of course, material was shortage. They had to really restart because once material was not there, they stopped campaigning. Again, when material comes again, they restart campaigning. So that became a dominant factor. It was nothing to do with the local competitors. And of course, the center with higher LDP stands for distribution some measure had higher cooperation from schools. So wherever schools didn't allow them, of course, distribution. The qualitative surveys also found about infrastructure, supply and certainty, management of local talent pool. So these are some summaries of operationalizing population, saying it is indeed viable, feasible, and we have actually shown that it actually works. Not only that, we want to see how the switch happens between the people who train, who become entrepreneurs, and understand their motivation, desire to become entrepreneurs, and then understand their facilitation and the challenges. I'm not going to go into the process, I'm just going to jump to summary of it. So based on our analysis, what we found out is there are the three key subsectors. One is employment in business, which is what we are usually looking at, and consumer behavior to some extent. But then retailers' motivation and support plays a very, very important role for them to continue and expand into this business. And all our women's self-help group federation members, so it is a women-centric retailership. Advisor family support plays a crucial role in the continuation. And their primary motivation is to provide better education for their kids rather than actually make more money. They valued empowerment and independence over actually earning more money. Even if they are able to break even and earn less money, earn less profit, sufficient revenue to keep the cycle going, they are quite happy to do that at least for the last 6 months. Self-reliance and influencers. Participant value, the community's trust on them. So they know we can't do crap products now. Now they know us. We are doing this product, we have trained them now. I can't go back to doing the old stuff. I have to improve, I have to do better. So they feel a need for quality products at their various price points. They have now moved on, not only focusing on solar, expanded any products like LED with storage and stuff like that. So what we have done through this project is this solar Urja lamp, but all households, all the basic needs. So to provide the basic need, there is a solar Urja lamp. It's used for not only for studying, for everything, walking in the night, toilets, etc. We achieved this bit building basic capacities and setting up these local assembly centers, which is in a project mode. But what we eventually want to do is satisfy these higher order energy needs of this rural community, for which we want to do deeper localization, where now service centers are set up, which has a much longer lifetime through advanced capacity building activities. And now we want to graduate some of these service centers into retail shops when building their entrepreneurship capacity, as well as perhaps help in forming some sort of aggregator company or manufacturing company. Because how do you talk to 450 retailers? Even if a manufacturer gives them a list of 450, they are not going to talk to all 450 people. Then how do you come up with a structured hub and spoke model where you can actually access this market and provide the product at the right price point? Which is what we are currently working on. We want to see how to provide energy access community by engaging with community distribution. These two we did in project mode, assembly, distribution, repair, maintenance of this solar lab. But we want to shift to market mode to perhaps do retail shops, a network of retail shops, aggregator company, as well as maybe developing a manufacturing company. So we are experimenting on that. Towards that, this project is also implemented in Dungarpur district, just close by. First district you go when you go to Rajasthan. Just south of Udaipur, Dungarpur. Just south of Udaipur. First, you have to cross Dungarpur to go to Udaipur. this vegan rice cake, I'm sure a lot of people are doing. So there, these actually set up these local centers, sold 40,000 lamps, earned a corpus of about 20 lakh rupees, which they then told, okay, can you set up retail shops? They actually tried it, but then they felt they wanted longer term employment opportunity. So then we had a discussion with them, can we actually try some manufacturing? And when we presented the proposal to the government and other CSRs, they also put funding and actually helped set up a solar panel manufacturing facility is there in Dungarpur, fully owned and operated by rural women. PV module manufacturing is there, running last 2 years, and is completing in second year, and other factories are also being planned. So now we are not only localized assembly of a product, we are actually localizing manufacturing of the product. Right? So there is huge scope to see how they can actually expand and continue to provide access to the community, as well as it will be a viable business model to them. And also we are experimenting with other solar-based products. So the way forward we are working on is how do we strengthen the supply networks to cater to community, and towards that, and being an IIT we can continue doing that. So we actually incorporated this company called as Energy Swaraj. Is of Chetan Solanki is heading this as a not-for-profit company. So you can visit this website, those interested can actually join. So what we are actually, through this project, this entire network is now created. Now how do you ensure that they are business viable and it provides energy access? Though still it is actually diametrically different goals. If you make them only focus on the community's energy access and then do every product so cheap and as per whatever they want, then your business will go for it. If you get a viable business model here, then this may be difficult. So now how? So through the Energy Swaraj, what we are trying to do, since this network is created, can actually channel products, operate at a more lower overheads. Similar ideas what we are seeing through Ola or through Swiggy or other .coms, how we are able to connect all these various markets with the various sources to create more. Because all the technologies out there, how we can reach that market. Then, so some of you might have heard about this book, right? Option at the bottom of the pyramid. It is still there, but you can't just take it. You have to put something in, right? They are not infinite sources where you can actually get them. Actually, some capacity has to be built in, some economy has to stimulate it within there so that the cycle continues there, and they are able to see some of the money getting reinvested within their community, which can then help them to come up with the more sustainable solutions for that. So we are working towards this solar ecosystem by local for locals to provide reliable, affordable, sustainable energy access to billions. Whoever is interested can feel free to email or see the website and perhaps consider joining the organizations. Thank you.
Any questions, anyone?
First of all, many congratulations for your nice initiative, and it's not only give a solution but comprehensive solutions to many problems in society. My question is related to your product. What is the durability of that particular lamp? How much time it can work in one time charging and other features of that? And second point is how much they are earning, like the local vendors and the employers who are working in a factory, how much they were getting at the initial
Yeah. So this is a solar lamp. 8 hour backup on full charge, and it's fully tested and certified product. 2.5 watt. It's lithium phosphate battery. The same as your cell phone, the smartphone battery. So 2000 life cycle is about 2000 cycles. One cycle is 1 day. So 2000 cycles is roughly 2.5-3 years. The battery should run. So that is the life cycle of this product. Yeah. That is for this product. But apart from this, as I told, we have actually created this multiple other products in open source also. so that anybody can manufacture it. And all technology is not an issue. Similar to this lamp, you can find many lamps with slightly different specification, just like your Samsung phone. Every 500 rupee bracket you will get different things, full range. Similar thing here, 50 rupees you will get full. In fact, the cheapest one in the market you can get what the rural market calls as Chinese model. It's not Chinese model, what they meant is a use and throw. There is no repair, it is sealed thing. We don't know where it is made. It will be made in India also, but that's a common in the community. So that you can get at 200 rupees also, 150 rupees also. Lesser backup, smaller panel, sometimes panel gets built. So there is a huge range. The idea is how we can provide the good products into the community in a regular way. They won't even repair them, but they are not able to find anybody there who is able to do it. So that's the focus area. Regarding the earning,
what is the costing of this lamp at initial stage and at right now?
Costing, so for the students it's at 100 rupees only. But when we started the tendering process, this lamp, first one was half its size, like half a watt LED, 1 watt panel. So that first tender in 2014 it was at 500 rupees per kit without assembly. And 500 rupees included delivery at the remote location, wherever it may be. It includes the delivery cost, not just the out of company cost. Then we doubled the specification sometime in 2016, 2017 into 2.5 watt panel and 2000 mAh lithium ion batteries. Earlier it was 1.5 years, I think 3 years. And right now the last tender the cost is 375 rupees. So it has really crashed. So there the idea here being we don't want to, in fact possible from user side you want to increase it slightly. So that at some point it becomes viable so that government can step out and people can actually buy it at the rate that they get. It can be made available. Logic is similar to Ujala scheme or any other scheme where the large scale tendering brings down the cost significantly. One way is to standardize the design. Regarding the earnings, see the retail shops, they invested and they are running it as a business. So the average profit of the retail shops, yeah. So before that, like we have to check it. We did a small study in October. So many shops started in January, February, March that time, and about 200 shops. So right now 400 shops have started. So those 200 shops are a total profit, including because many of them had less fixed costs, like the rental was cheap, was location they know, or the rental is cheap, the space is already available, as well as more overheads in buying is can be aggregated because you don't look at one shop but many shops together through the group, so they were able to earn significant profit here. Regarding the factory in Dungarpur, those women are getting about lowest salary comes to about 6,000 per month to 15,000 per month. It's significant money. Many are first-time workers. When you get a chance, you should go and visit it. Durga Energy is a website. Dungarpur Renewable Technologies Private Limited. So the idea we are trying to tell the government is, so this is owned and operated by the Self-Help Group Federation, not individual women. The federation is operating it. So any government scheme maybe can be channelized through that. If any other solar initiative has to happen within that region, can they do it? So one of the appeal I have to Professor Sati here is, can we actually have a healthy link between IIM and such kind of institute, companies that are created, so that students can spend 15 days or something as intern there, come with a better product design and do them, streamline some of their workflows, identify potential, how do you advertise the market, how do you make it bigger, connect them, maybe help create websites or whatever, how do you link it to the global market, or how do you do better sourcing of customers, whatever it is. I'm sure there will be hundreds of ways in which people can participate, but here is a company which can do that, and it's very, very close by, so maybe even a weekend visit can give wonderful insight to them.
That's not name even for every shop that is running this business, or?
No, it's acronym we are using. They come up with their own shop.
Even when it's not here.
So we just came up with an acronym saying Solar Mark. but many of them come up with their own names. We try to come up with some common branding, and since the lamp is popular, we try to use the same image in all the shops so we can better identify it. That is another interesting thing, like now, how can I do better branding? Will it be better to have uniform branding or not? I don't know. So, right now they are, because there is no real presence for, it's not like, we are not like starting a Chroma and put like Tata at the front. We are not Tatas. Even if we put in IIT, support, who the hell knows IIT? Who the hell knows Source? What is this S-Mark? How do you create that branding for the person? I don't have all the answers. We are just starting. Many times alternative is what we are using and we suggest, but they may just put whatever, Geeta Devi, or they will not put any banner. They may just put solar Dukan and put a big board for whatever people get to know. That's it. It's more a word of mouth images. Or like this. This is about it. Phone number, that's simple. That's the shop. And this, I don't think it has any name. Just there.
What is written in Bengali there? Yes.
It's not Bengali. Bengali is it? Assam. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what is written.
Bengali, right?
Bengali is here.
Huh? It's Bengali.
I don't know what is written there. The branding is you just put one panel outside and people know you are selling solar related things. I think they already had a shop. They are expanding it with solar related products.
Any other questions, please?
Doing this project actually have a lot of data also. Like even if you want to create a really good infographic on this, it takes time. Who's going to do it? To build up this, we are really looking at this Energy Swaraj as a company moving out of IIT, where we want to start and have a goal of say 2030 can at least we support 1 million households who are running on solar in the country. So we can actually show that 1 million households are supported. So, see, many people, I'm sure even in your house, if you thought about solar, very difficult is what will happen if something goes wrong. There is no local support. So can I create through this Energy Swaraj and the people already there, can we create that support? Once the support is there, technology is there, good backing and sound, business model is there, customers can they switch with more confidence, can we seed them, can we incentivize them? So that is a eventual thing that Energy Swaraj is actually aspiring to do in a market mode. No, not philanthropic mode, not giving it free to rural also. More on a business model, actually they serve. That is the thing. So if you take that question, please contact.
Small refreshments is there. Thanks very much for joining the talk. My sincere thanks to my administrative team and to the Policy Club for co-hosting this. Small refreshments are there, please join us.